Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy Gazza9919 here, and what we're going to be talking about today is something that's quite relevant. It's happening all around us. It is, of course, the fuel prices, and we're going to be looking at different ways that we can save fuel. Now, some of these methods do cost money, others don't. The way I'm going to be addressing this video is I'm going to be addressing people in a way that it won't matter if you know about cars or you don't know about them. It's sort of, I guess, simple enough to follow, but without rambling on anymore, let's get into it. The first thing, this is one of the major things that a lot of people let slip because over time, you just sort of get lazy with it. I'm guilty of this myself. It's, of course, checking your tire pressures. You want to make sure your tires are properly inflated. For those of you who don't know how important tire pressures are, just think about this. Say you're trying to push a wheelbarrow. Now, if you've got a fully inflated tire on that, it's fine, isn't it? But if you've got an absolute flat tire on that wheelbarrow, you're going to have to work harder, and it's exactly the same with a car. If your tires are flat, then the engine's got to work harder, and therefore resulting in using more fuel. So it's something that you'd want to do. Obviously, as always, I'd advise that you to get it done to the manufacturer's specifications. It all depends on what car you've got. No sort of two cars are too much the same in pressure. You know, it's taken into account engine size and things like that. So for example, this BMW takes 37 psi all round on each wheel because it's an estate. It's got extra weight on the back, whereas my Fiesta, that takes 31 psi on the front, 29 psi on the rear, because it's a small car, it's not got much weight on the back. Most of the weight is towards the front. Two of the best ways to find out what tire pressure you should be having are either check your owner's manual, or if you're a bit more tech savvy like most of the world nowadays, just literally Google your car and just put tire pressures, and then it should come up. The next thing is something I've used a bit, and it's been sort of good and bad in both ways. It is, of course, fuel pricing apps. So there are apps out there that you can go onto them, install them, whatever, and then if you scroll down, if you let it access your location, it will tell you the nearest fuel stations at the cheapest price, sort of thing. Like the nearest fuel station that is the cheapest. And then it will sort of go up in price the more you scroll down. And you can set your range in that to how far you want to travel to get cheap fuel and find the cheapest petrol station and things like that. So they are quite helpful if you're in a bit of a tight situation budget wise. Now this next thing is one of those things that cost money, but it's the sort of thing you should be getting done anyway. Really, you need to make sure your car is serviced regularly, because what happens, and the reason we service cars, is that the fluids over time they go bad. So for example, let's focus on the engine oil. We all know about engine oil. We all know what it does. It lubricates the engine, makes it run smoother. Over time, usually it's said around about a year to 7,000 miles, 10,000 miles. Over time, what happens with this oil is that it tends to lose its property. So its property of lubrication and its cooling properties, it loses that over time. And then it becomes somewhat gritty. So then that starts to wear away at components if you leave it too long. And this is exactly why you need to keep on top of it, because realistically an engine will last forever if it's looked after. What I'm getting at here, fuel wise, the oil gets thicker as time goes on because it goes a duller color, it goes black, and then therefore it causes resistance and less lubrication. So your engine's not running as efficient, therefore it's taking more fuel to run it. Whereas if you've got fresh oil in for every service, and you've got your fresh air filter, fresh fuel filter and things like that, everything's just running so much smoother. So you really are using a lot less fuel to move the car. The next thing is another freebie sort of thing that you can do, and that is, of course, remove anything from the car that you don't necessarily need. We all have loads of stuff in our boot and things like that, and some of us have messy cars, but just, I don't know, it's just small things that you probably don't need. Like maybe you carry in an extra coat round or something, and we're in the middle of summer, and maybe a toolbox or a jack that you don't use, or, well, it could be anything really. But you know, just have a look in your boot, have a look around your car, think about, do I really need that in the car? Because all that extra weight means more fuel, because the car's got to shift more weight, so therefore it's using more fuel to move more mass. And you know, if you just get rid of stuff that you don't necessarily need, then you save a bit of fuel that way. Obviously, I wouldn't advise taking out anything that, you know, you need in an emergency situation, such as the factory jack that comes with the car, spare wheel if you have one, you want to keep that in, and any sort of tools to undo the wheel or things like that. You want to keep all of that in the car, because, you know, you don't want to be stranded. And I know it's weight and you could potentially be saving fuel, but on the flip side of things, you could be stranded at the side of the road for 3 hours waiting for the recovery man to come and get you. Now, this next thing does cost a bit of money, but it is one of those where it pays off in the long run, and that is, of course, getting your tracking done. For any of you that don't know, this is basically, it's straightening up your wheels. So sometimes your wheels might sometimes go in or out or camber like that. And this isn't good, because if you think about it, if you've got one wheel slightly going in and the other wheel slightly going in, they're fighting each other, and that is using a lot of fuel. Some places are quite cheap, some places are quite expensive. You know, you got to shop around a bit. Most good tire places will do tracking, but you've got to be careful, because obviously with tracking, if it's sometimes if it's a rear wheel drive car, you've got to have all 4 wheels done. If it's a front wheel drive car, you should be all right with just the 2 front wheels. It should be quite cheap. But yeah, the best quote I've had so far with my rear wheel drive is about £70 for all wheel tracking. So yeah, but like I said, it's one of those things where you do sort of want to get it done, because it will help you out in the long run, and the car will just feel so much smoother as well. But yeah, alternatively, it will save you a bit of fuel. The final thing I want to talk about is something called terra cleaning. Now, this is something where your car gets hooked up to a machine, and things that are created, otherwise known as carbon deposits, get cleaned out of your engine. Now, I'm not going to give this one as a fully, yeah, I'd say do this, because it is an awkward one and you want to be 100% sure you want to do it before you do it. Because it's good in the aspect of it'll clean the whole engine out, and from what I've heard, it can run like new, and you know, you can see improved MPG and things like that. But on the flip side of it, you know, it could have opened the door for some gremlins, like, because there could be carbon deposits that are literally blocking holes and blocking broken seals and things like that, and now you've taken them away, they're now exposed and will leak. And yeah, it really is an awkward thing, and I can't honestly tell you because I haven't actually had it done, but from what I've heard, it's something you definitely want to be sure of before you did it. And you really want to be looking at how old your car is and what sort of maintenance the car's had. Right then guys, so that is basically it for this video. If you did enjoy it, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and maybe even hit that bell icon for notifications on future uploads. But until the next time, peace.